Mr. Chairman.
Okay. All right. Welcome to the City of Lake Worth Beach Planning and Zoning Board meeting, City Hall Commission Chamber for Wednesday, May 1st, 2024, 6:03 p.m. Have a roll call?
Dan Waleski,
Present.
Hank Paulsky,
Here.
Dave Matthews,
Here.
Juan Cotton,
Here.
Mark Hum,
Here.
Evelyn Arcuyo. Here. Zaid Shamsi Basha. You have a quorum.
Okay. All right. So, Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do you have any additions, deletions, or reordering of your agenda?
No, Mr. Chair.
Okay. For the minutes, we have March 6, 2024 meeting minutes, and then we have April 3rd. Is that A and B, or is that just A?
You have two sets.
Oh.
Sorry, what was the question?
Is that A and B? Yeah, because it says March 6th and April 3rd. So we approve both of those as one piece, or?
Maybe better if you did it as two.
It's fine, however you'd like to do it. Either way.
I mean, the only reason I'm saying that is one was quite lengthier, and I don't know whether everybody went through that, but and then
Right.
the other one's rather short. So if you had any.
So it's fine. I'm happy to do them as one, if that's fine, legal counsel, so. For the approval of the minutes,
I move to approve the minutes, both March 6th and April 3rd,
2024.
2024.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All right. Passes unanimously. For the cases and swearing in of staff and applicants, do we have a proof of publication for 2141 10th Avenue?
This is actually, we do have proof.
Okay,
Scott will speak to that later, or Karina. We do have proof for the other item, 3
As
8th
well.
Avenue South. Mhm.
okay, so do we swear in the applicants and the staff?
Yes. So, Mr. Varnava and Mr. Silverstein, if you could unmute.
Here.
Do you swear and affirm the testimony you give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? If so, say yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Do we have any withdrawals or postponements?
We do.
Okay,
Item under new business, item B,
okay,
the
laser tag.
laser tag, sorry, the application number isn't on here, but they have withdrawn their application.
Oh, interesting. Are they not gonna follow through on the business, or?
They are possibly looking at different locations, so for now, they're seeking, this isn't gonna, we're not gonna move forward with
Got
this
it.
item at this location tonight.
Great, okay, that's fine. So we have item, okay, let me see, consent, anything on consent?
No.
Okay, public hearings, any board disclosure? I think we're good on that. Unfinished business,
We have no unfinished business.
okay. there's always been unfinished business, but, all right, so let's get on to new business. Item A, consideration of a variance to allow an electronic gate to be set back 5 feet from the front property line at 318th Avenue South. The subject site is zoned single-family residential, SFR, and has a future land use designation of single-family residential SFR on the same. Would the staff like to inform us of what this is all about?
Yes, Mr. Chair, Karina Campos, Community Planner with Planning and Zoning, will be doing the presentation for staff.
So hi, my name is Karina Campos. I'm the community planner for the Department of Community Sustainability. I am here to talk to you. Wait. One second. Okay, there we go. So I am here to talk about PZB project number 24-015-00002, which is a request by Peter and Louise Silverstein for consideration of a variance for an electronic gate to be set back 5 feet from the front property line at 318th Avenue South. And the subject site is zoned single-family residential and has a future land use designation of single-family residential. So here is a map of general location of the site, highlighted in pink or outlined in pink. It is at the eastern end of 18th Avenue South. Currently, the lot is vacant. The applicant has expressed that they will intend on building a single-family residence. The proposal is for the variance request is they're asking to have an electronic gate to be set back 5 feet from the west property line. The electronic gate setback in section 23.4-4D4C specifies that electronic security gates and keypad or call boxes shall be located a minimum of 25 feet from the property line or right of way to prevent stacking of automobiles into the public right of way. The minimum setback distance may be increased in the event the city engineer determines traffic safety so requires. Such increases shall be based on a gate queuing analysis performed by a certified traffic engineer to be provided by the applicant. Here is the proposed site plan. Again, it's vacant, but this is what they provided the city. It hasn't been formally reviewed, but it shows the location of the proposed electronic gate on the western front property, 5 feet setback. I did mark the survey or site plan to indicate the approximate 25-foot setback location in the dashed line. So without the variance, an electronic gate would have to be located at that dashed line. So the zoning analysis includes that, or the land development regulations require all variance requests to be analyzed for consistency with section 23.2-26B. Staff has reviewed the application against this section, which the analysis outlines follows. So criteria 1 specifies that there should be specific circumstances or conditions which are peculiar to the land or building for which the variance is sought and do not apply generally to nearby lands and buildings. And this is not the result of the action of the applicant. So the staff analysis indicates that the property is adjacent to the intercoastal waterway. And like many properties adjacent to bodies of water, the site is within a flood zone. The applicant contends that the 25-foot setback for electronic gates is not sufficient for the site due to the property location within the flood zone and requires adherence to the base flood elevation. However, the base flood elevation height regulations do not alter fence placement requirements. Therefore, the circumstances of the property generally apply to nearby lands, and the proposed gate location would be a result of the action of the applicant, and the requested variance does not meet the intent of criteria 1. Criteria 2 specifies that Thank you. Criteria 2 specifies that the strict application of the provision of these LDRs would deprive the applicant of any reasonable use of the land or building for which the variance is sought. So the analysis includes that the strict application of the LDRs would require electronic gates to be set back a minimum of 25 feet from the front property line. Based on the applicant's submitted site plan, the required 25-foot setback could be accommodated without alterations to the proposed house or driveway. Furthermore, the proposal could be revised to utilize a manual gate, which would not have any minimum setback requirements from the front property line. Criteria 3, the variance proposed is the minimum variance, which makes possible the reasonable use of land or building. The analysis includes that the proposed variance is not required for reasonable use of the land. There are alternative gate configurations that could comply with the regulations and would not require a variance. They could either meet the required electronic gate setback of 25 feet or change the proposed gate to a manual opening gate. So the last criteria, number 4, the granting of the variance will be in accordance with the spirit and purpose of this chapter. It will not be unduly injurious to contiguous property or the surrounding neighborhood, nor otherwise detrimental to the public welfare. Staff analysis includes that the subject variance request is contrary to the intent of the fence and gate regulations. The preliminary site plan indicates that the proposed electronic gate will be set back 5 feet from the front western property line and will be set back 6 feet from the southern side property line, which may create conflicts with ingress or egress to both the subject site and the adjacent southern property. So in conclusion, the analysis does not meet any of the variance criteria. A hardship was not established. The strict application of the LDRs would not deprive the property owner of reasonable use of the land, and there are alternative gate types and or placement options available. Therefore, staff is recommending that the Planning and Zoning Board not approve the proposed variance based on the data analysis in the report. And just to know, as of today, we received 5 public comments from neighbors in opposition to the proposal.
Okay. Interesting.
Mr. Chair, I think there is the applicant is going to present.
Okay, I was about to
Are
ask
they
you.
they're online? Okay. So we're going to pull up, but it's in PDF version, so we'll get that up for you.
Okay,
Who provided this?
the property owner.
Property owner?
Yeah.
Yes.
Good afternoon. Can I have control of the screen if possible?
There, you can go ahead and try.
Do you have access to the screen?
I do not. Let me see, hold on. View request remote control.
There you go.
Okay, there you go. Okay. Good afternoon. For the record, my name is Yanni Varnava, representing Varnava Design Studio. We are the architects for the project, located on 318th Avenue South. We're here to present our short presentation and why we're requesting the variance for the gate. So on the upper left side of the screen, we're looking at the aerial view of the site, outlined in blue, same as on the right side of the screen. Below, we will see the property to the north, and the right is the property to the south. Both properties have their gates and walls right on the street, as you see on the pictures. I will move on to the survey. So this is our property line. These are the gates, once again, of the neighbors, located right on the street. Now, as the staff mentioned, we can have the wall and gate, if it's manual, right on the street. I will move on to our proposed site plan. As you will see on our proposed site plan, we are proposing the gate and wall to be 5 feet, to have a 5-foot setback. And the reason of the variance is, or the variance request we're asking is to add a motorized gate, not a manual gate. Again, if we had a manual gate, we can place it right on the street line. But we are asking for a 5-foot, and the reason why is to allow for a nice landscape buffer to hide our wall and beautify the street. And also, we took in consideration the lift station, as you see right here. We're trying to avoid the lift station, so we're aligning it right on the edge of it, which is right here. That's why we have 5 feet. We'll go on our front elevation. So this is our proposed design facing the street. This is the house. This is the gate for the variance. This is the man gate for accessing the house. And you will notice that the house, the bottom of the base elevation is located at 10 foot above flood level. The gate is located at 2 feet above flood level. So what happens is, like, once we have the driveway, we have a very steep driveway to access into our parking court. And I'll go back to our site plan, which is right here. So what happens right here is that because of the steep driveway, it becomes a little hazardous to have the gate right on 25 feet. So you have to go and wait on a steep drive to get in. And also when you get out, you also have to wait on a steep drive to get out. So it becomes a little hazardous and also, complicated for us due to the elevation that we have to build the house so high. Now, when we first started this process, we consulted with the city staff and asked, what are the chances of, getting an electronic instead of a manual gate approved? And they said, we have to go to variance, and it's good to check with the city engineer. The city engineer got back to us, and as you see here, which that was the response from the staff, the city engineer has forwarded your request to planning and zoning so that we can advise you of the variance process. Based on the internal discussions with the city engineer, engineering will be in support of a variance for an electronic gate without the 25-foot setback, as the area will only serve 2 residential properties. And in addition, our property is located at a dead end. I will zoom out. Go on the site plan. As you see here, this is the end of the street, and we're located in a dead end. So the 25-foot setback, when you have cars stacked as the code requires, does not really apply here because there's not really traffic. There's nobody really coming and going. Then the neighbor to the south will get affected a little bit, but also the fact that we push the gate further 5 feet further in, it kind of clears the entryway for the neighbor. If we had a manual gate and it's placed right on the street, when you think about it, when you're here, you have to get out of the car. You're really blocking the entry to the neighbor. If it's electrified, you push a button, you wait for like 10 seconds, and then you move on. You don't have to get out of the car, push the gate. Then once you go in, you have to park the car on a steep drive, get out, and close the gate. So that's also, provides a hardship to have a manual gate. Once again, we're only requesting a variance to add a motorized gate. Nothing else. And that concludes our presentation.
Is anybody from the public? Anybody from the public here? Okay. Yes. Say your name and address, please.
Porter Clemensmo. I live at 75 18th
Morning.
Avenue South. I'm about four.
Okay.
I'm
Go ahead.
about 4 houses west of that property.
Yes.
And there has been an ongoing flood project construction on our street. And just because it's on a dead end, like he said, doesn't mean it won't affect us, because the flood project has so many cars parked along the street. The garbage truck had to back out. They can't turn around down there. And we're concerned that emergency vehicles won't be able to access our neighborhood because he's going to have all his cars parked outside. And the fence that he has now is sitting in the wrong place also. And the neighbors tell me that that wasn't permitted either. And the house has to be 10 feet above sea elevation. They were using the flood zone as an excuse, but we think it's just going to be a hardship on the whole neighborhood.
Understand.
And just because it's a dead end doesn't mean cars don't go down there.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. Thank you very much. Have we had any other feedback or anybody else who'd like to comment?
Just the other comments that were provided to you. If you'd like, I can go through them, or if you want to take a look. It's up to you.
It's fine.
Your pleasure.
Yeah. If it's all the same, you can.
I mean, sorry, it's just, there are a few questions and not all of them talk about it, but, I do have a few questions about their complaints and how it, so up to you guys, but I mean, I can go through my questions now, or we can go through
Well,
comments.
we don't really have, these are just public comments.
Right.
We don't have answers per se to their comments. They're,
Well, I mean, in your expertise, I assume,
Well,
right?
I mean, there's a lot of things. So basically, if we have the comments and if they pretty much all say the same thing, you could do one of them. And then when we get the board member comments,
Yeah.
you could ask all the
Okay,
questions.
all right.
Okay? All right.
so we have one from Jill Brown, and she's located at 9118 18th Avenue South. And she's also requesting denial because of parking issues on the street and blocking the front of any homes, impeding emergency services, allow any vehicles to be outside of the gate and partially in the street for an extended period of time. Any issues for service vehicle access, the ability to reach homes or turn around at the end of the road. I'm not sure, cause any financial assessment for any reason from the neighbors, and block any public utility access or ability to function properly. Carlos Ramirez from 64 18th Avenue South. He is citing same thing, parking issues on the corner, interference with neighbor parking, interference with commercial vehicles turning around, garbage and debris from trimmings in the street, impeding any emergency services reaching any homes, allowing any vehicles to be outside the gate, and particularly for an extended period of time, blocking the public utility or ability to function properly, and being able to reach the lines to be worked on. There's a reason why they have setbacks to protect everyone. Carl Schilling from 65 18th Avenue South. Parking issues on the corner of the street, interference with neighbor parking, interference with commercial vehicles turning around, garbage and debris, any emergency service from reaching the homes, allowing vehicles outside the gate, blocking, and he states that this would impact him more than any other neighbor, being that all of his debris and parking will go against his yard. Thomas Sweat, 66 18th Avenue South. It's Tom and Barbara. Regards to the 5-foot setback for the electronic gate, we feel the minimum is 25 is that the Lake Worth Planning and Zoning has in place for the lot should remain. The amount set is for a reason, and changing that in that small dead end area, which also has a pump lift station, could cause the following problems: city service vehicles attending and servicing the drainage pipe and lift station. It would hinder adequate space for emergency vehicles, as it's a dead end with little area that includes the pump lift station, keeping garbage and large crane trash removal from working safely and efficiently. The much needed floodwater pump project going on in that exact location right now is showing us how hard it is for the workers and their equipment and vehicles to maneuver in the area, causing any additional street parking problems. They see no hardships due to any physical limitations of the property, being that it is an empty lot. Keep the 25-foot setbacks in place. And then, of course, the last comment was from the previous speaker.
I understand. So there were no positive comments from the neighborhood.
Precisely.
Exactly. Okay. Thank you very much. And about the same type of criteria. So, okay. The staff, is there anything else you'd like to enlighten us about before we start talking?
So just a couple of things. There was a pump station installed. We did talk to the building division.
Mhm.
They're indicating that right of way, that portion of the right of way is at 20 feet, and due to the pump station installation, reduce that portion to 10 feet. So that's going to be another, impact to that area. Additionally, the mention of the north and south properties that have gates, those have not been properly permitted. So that's a little misleading. And one is a manual gate, one is an electronic gate.
Mhm.
So our records do indicate that they have not been properly permitted.
So they may receive a visit from the city at some point or another.
That was probably what I was going to ask. When I saw that picture
Right.
on that property and with the wall and electronic gate right on the edge, sort of had me, I was going to question that and the fact that now I know wasn't permitted.
Yeah. Okay. Well, all right. So since we have that, I guess we go to board member comments. Evelyn, would you like to start?
Okay, I have so many questions actually, so pardon me, but I just wanted to talk about the concerns that they had in regard to blocking and public utility access. Is that if they have with that 5 foot that they're talking about, would that actually still be an issue?
I think the 20-foot setback is to address the queuing. So I think staff's position is that would impact that. So to alleviate that, for this gate, and it's the 25-foot setback gives more room to address the queuing on the right of way.
Can I ask something? So once again, code allows us to have the gate right on the property line. So we are willing to push it 5 feet further in. Is that assisting, all the concerns? We're just asking for our gate to be electrified. We're not asking for anything else. So if we are not allowed to have the electrified gate, we can put a manual gate and put it right on the property line. And that code allows it.
Yeah, so that was going to be my next question, because you just mentioned something I didn't know, that the gates that are currently there aren't permitted. So where, if he's saying that he can put it by the property line, but you're saying it's not, where is it exactly that the manual gate would be? But he just said that the ones that do have it on the property line aren't the case, so. Yeah.
Well, they're not fully permitted. So that's
Oh, but if they were permitted, then they can be there right on the
It appears
property
that
line.
One, we'd have to review it, but it appears that one might have to get an after the fact permit. It might be okay, but the electronic one would probably have to change the gate or come in for a variance or do something to that. Now to the question by the applicant, yes, the code does allow a manual gate to be on the property line versus an electronic gate that has to be 25 feet feet set back. That is something that staff is aware of, today's code, and this is how we determined, how we reviewed the application.
Yeah, but I'm just asking in regards to, because I want to make sure that if that there isn't like some kind of safety hazard, right? Because if they can put the manual fence right on the property line, then all the issues that they're talking about, the parking, the public access, will still be a concern, which is why they're saying they'll have that 5-foot space to alleviate said concerns. So I just wanted to make sure like I knew what the facts were.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
Mhm.
it's correct. I mean, those issues are still going to be in place, but if we interpret the code strictly, that manual gate would be allowed to be located on the property.
Right, right, which then would mean that the person opening the gate would take longer, hence blocking it, all of that. Like I saw the Google Street View, and if they did put a manual gate there, then it would be like all the other gates and it would still cause the same issues that they're talking about.
Right, again,
Right,
like I said,
yeah.
it's in today's code, and what staff is going to be doing is
Mhm.
reviewing this portion of the code and most likely making changes to this in the fall.
Okay. And then what's this floodwater pump project? Do you guys know anything about that?
Yeah, it's a high flood area. I live in that area.
Uh-huh.
And we've had flooding for years.
Right.
And I don't think it's gonna get completely better, but there is quite a lot of flooding in that area. So they're trying to expand, clean up the water sewer lines and things like that, storm sewer, and see to make better sense out of it. Yeah,
Mhm.
so there is an ongoing project that is gonna last about a year,
About a year.
Yeah.
Okay, but then said project will be done and then a lot of the,
to the
Pe-
better of the neighborhood.
I mean, fingers crossed, right?
Right.
But then that would also mean that a lot of the trucks that they are seeing there right now won't be there in a
Forever,
year.
yes.
Right. And what of this pump lift station? What's that for?
The lift station takes water or poop or whatever,
Huh.
and it brings it up to a higher elevation so that the pipe could then bring it down to another place.
Was there an issue in regards to where it was located? Because
You can't run it over, you can't mess it up. It's a piece of mechanical, it's a mechanical item, and if you damage it, it won't serve its purpose and you'll flood.
So it sounds like at this dead end.
Uh-huh.
So typically this would be what's called a hammerhead. When you get to a dead end, you basically, if a truck needs to turn around, they can make a left and then back up and then
You're running over.
do it. So literally the end of the driveway looks like a hammerhead shark. That's kind of the idea of it. Within that hammerhead, they took away 10 feet of land in order to build this lift station. So that essentially makes it much more difficult for vehicles to turn and do U-turns at the end of it. So the garbage truck, that's probably typically when we do a project with fire,
Mhm.
they would require that hammerhead for a fire truck, an ambulance, anything to turn around. Where that lift station has made things more difficult.
I see.
I don't believe that the addition of the driveway, because it's on the other side of the lift station, is going to make things better or worse in that circumstance. The lift station has made it really difficult in there, but I think,
And they need to have said lift station. I'm assuming?
yeah, that's how,
Right.
so typically your sewers are gravity fed. So typically they go from high to low.
Mhm.
But when you have a long distance or when you're far outside on the system, you need to take the sewer from the houses and pump it up to a higher elevation so that it can feed into the system. And so
Okay,
that most likely was added because of sewer issues in that area.
Okay, so even if, even with the way that they want to do the electric fence, that's the one problem that won't be fixed regardless. Is that
I don't think there's any solution.
There's any
Certain
solution.
things, once they
It's
happen,
there.
and if the city has already given up 10 feet of right of way to build a lift station there.
Oh, it's already
And-
there.
and-
Wait, it's already there?
Yeah.
Yeah, my guess is
I
that
thought it was
public right of
vacant
way
and
and it's
completely vacant.
Ah.
the public lift station and public right.
Station's installed, the lot is still vacant, yes.
I see.
Okay, anything else?
Yes.
No, I'm just
No,
asking.
no,
Let me see.
I'm sure.
Yeah, because again, the garbage and trash removal that they're talking about, if they put a manual fence in the way, that would still be a problem. Let's see. Okay, that's all my questions. Thank you.
Anything more? Okay.
One more comment.
We're gonna
No,
go
I
down.
was gonna-
Oh, we're going down? Oh, okay, I'm so sorry.
Yeah. All right, so, because I have designed many things like this for a long time, I think that the architect's in a tough situation in a sense that you now allow an unelectrified fence to be right up against the property line, which I think is a huge mistake of the city, and it should be off the books, period. The reason that you have the 25-foot thing is so that the car could go in there and then it won't be obstructing anything else. And then they could open privately. And the front view, I think the owner should understand, the architect as well, the front elevation of that will not change at all. You're just keeping it. You could just bring the front fence to the front that's not electrified, and then the electrified one to the back at 25 feet and keep your car there without blocking anybody else. I think that's the sensible solution. And it won't change the elevation, won't change anything else. The biggest problem that I have is this quagmire that we have here between the non-electrified and the electrified. And I think that the architect's correct in the sense that they could just put up a non-electrified fence and cause more issues, because then you have to get out of your car and go in there and whatever. But I believe the city needs to fix that, and I would be against having the electrified fence in the back. They're both wrong.
My question on it was, I was just taking a look at, if they do put a manual fence on the property line, I think it would take longer to get that open than if you had a electric fence 5 foot off.
Well, I'm basically saying what you said, and so the fact is, the variance calls for a 25-foot setback, yet a manual gate, you can put it right on the line, and they talk about stacking. I mean, there could be a lot of rough stacking, and I do believe that that this variance of some sort should be changed.
The conditions for variance within our current code, we've got 4 specific conditions for variance. The code states that they have to meet all 4 conditions. No, meet 3 of them, but not one of them. Okay. So, so this is an area where, in general, I'm going to go really quick through the 4 conditions, because I think I disagree with staff on their interpretation of 2 of them, but I agree with 2 of them. And so ultimately, I don't think we can support the variance under our current code. And so the first one, the special circumstances that exist, I wouldn't have necessarily cited the flood issues, but I think this lot definitely has special circumstance in that it's a hammerhead with the lift station, with turnaround. And based on what some of the residents are saying, with the issue of there being apparently quite a bit of U-turn traffic there, if the only way that the U-turn traffic works is because their driveway is there, then I'm picturing the possibility of a lot of commercial vehicles driving onto private property in order to make a U-turn because of issues that the city has created. And I don't think that's necessarily fair to them. I think they do have a special circumstance at that location because of the hammerhead, because of the lift station, because of the presence of, the other gates all the way around them. It is a special circumstance there. So I think they meet condition 1. The problem is condition 2 and condition 3 are really high bar to meet. To say that in order to get this variance approved, you have to deprive the applicant of any reasonable use of their land. Is it reasonable to set the gate back 25 feet or to have a 5 foot? they can still build they still have a reasonable use of their land. I think that it's detrimental to them to not be able to have the electronic gate up front, but it's still a reasonable use of their land. So I don't think we can say yes to condition 2 and 3 under the current code. I will say that this sort of thing has come up before. And I think that when we talk about fixing some stuff in the code, I do think that we should have a little bit less of a high bar for some variances. I think that is a little bit, if we have a city that's over 100 years old, and we have lots of conditions that exist that are unique to certain areas. We've talked about site walls. We've talked about a lot of other things that come before this board where there are some unique things. And to tell somebody that there's no reasonable use of that land, and that's the only way you can get a variance approved, seems like a very high bar to set. And there's been some that come before us that were supported by staff that had to do with the location of a pool that we approved variances presumably because having a pool or not being able to have a pool is unreasonable. And we supported that as a board. So I think that's kind of an odd bar. And I'd like to, at some point, I think that there should be a little bit more leeway in approving variances. The last condition with regards to it is basically whether or not it's unduly injurious to other properties. And one of the things specifically mentioned was the property to the south of it, and that any queuing, which according to the applicant, and I think there's a little bit of a misunderstanding, I don't think there's any intention to park vehicles outside of the gate. I think the intention is that that's a queue to get into the gate. And if it's an electronic gate, that would be, 15, 20 seconds. I don't think that's impeding any utility emergency vehicle or the applicant to the south, because as it stands now, the applicant to the south has a gate that would injure the property to the north just as much as the property to the north would be injuring the property to the south. So I think I don't think that I would claim that this would be injurious to the neighborhood or to the adjacent properties. So from my perspective, they meet conditions 1 and 4, but as they're written right now, conditions 2 and 3, they do not meet.
So you all know conditions, the steps that it takes as in your code that are required to be able to obtain a variance are pretty consistent through the state of Florida, and the courts have very strictly construed these tenets of granting variances. Granting variances are supposed to be difficult to get. You have your codes for a reason. Residents are supposed to meet your codes, and if they can't, because of some defining feature of the property that they did not create, some issue that is injurious to the property owner and not to those around them, that it's intended to alleviate a burden that is not created by the property owner. That is the intent of the variances. That's why they're so hard to get, and the courts have been very strict on how they rule on variances as well. So just to give you kind of that background, that they are strict and they're supposed to be.
At the end of it, one other comment is that on whether this thing is correct or not, I think it doesn't help to make another wrong if everybody else has the thing up wrong, whether they have a permit, they don't have a permit, it's up against the street. To continue to let other people do the wrong thing is not the right thing. So that's the way I feel about it. So, do you have a motion?
Is there any discussion where we could say maybe they move it back 10 feet, not 5 feet and not 25 feet?
To grant any variance, you would have to go through the 4 criteria and establish how granting the variance meets those criteria. You could grant some different number, whether the property owner accepts that is, up to them.
But 10 feet would leave half of the car out. That's the problem.
Wait, 10 feet what?
10 feet would leave half of the car. The 25 foot is half of the car.
How long are cars? I'm sorry.
Parking
how
lot,
far-
parking is usually about 20 feet, right? So they're doing the 25 to give you,
We see on the
like
side.
everywhere here.
Yeah.
So at 25 feet, you're giving them you know, a little 2.5 and 2.5 in front of the car to have a little leeway. And that's it, because you got a moving car stopping pretty quickly in front of a fence. So, I mean, there's a bunch of engineering studies about this stuff too. So the 25 foot is there for a reason. That's why they have it in the code.
And as staff mentioned, the intent would be in the fall when you do when the staff brings forward an LDR amendment, it would be changing the manual gate to the 25 feet as well.
Yeah, yes, that's what I'm saying. It's not great to start on a thing that there's a bunch of things that have been done wrong there and then to continue to do it, especially when staff is changing this and it's gonna be corrected anyway.
And if someone could just explain a little further, they were talking about an elevation issue if it's at the 25 feet.
There's no
What's
elevation
your
issue.
professional opinion of that?
There's no elevation issue.
No, okay.
No.
So it's not steep, because I mean, in regards to steepness, like I grew up in North Bergen, it's the second hilliest town in the country. So, you know, using my e-brake all the time, and I still do, even though I live in Florida, that's all flat. But I was just wondering, you know, if that was actually an issue, that are they in?
Front end and the front gate went in from the front looked the same even though it was pushed back. So the elevation of it,
I'm sorry, can you,
the front fence,
the front fence?
whether it's here or back there, it could be the same fence. So it would have the same look. Just
I believe the commissioner is discussing the elevation of the high elevation, not how the gate looks, but where it's located. So if it's located higher, then you have the steep issue of, as I mentioned earlier, parking, getting out. Your car is in a steep elevation, and it creates a hazard.
that elevation can be manipulated by the architect or by the civil engineer who's working on the site, and you can make it so it works. So I don't see any problem in it at all.
It's a matter of just leveling.
Yeah, leveling it right. So,
And that isn't an issue with the house elevation, et cetera.
no, I mean, they're building a house in a specific site that has that's in a flood zone, a severe flood zone, and that you're getting into something that you should realize you need to walk up steps, or you're gonna have to have an elevator or some type of lift or whatever. I don't know. So, yeah.
So I'll make a motion because based on the way our code is currently written, I would move to disapprove PZB project number 2401500002 for a variance to a minimum setback distance to allow the proposed placement of an electronic gate back 5 feet from the property line at 318th South. The project does not meet the variance criteria based on the data and analysis in the staff report.
I hear a second.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Thank you. Do we have any planning issues?
No, but I did want to introduce to the board, Karina Campos, our
Explanation
community
on,
planner. You will be seeing her a lot more as she'll be doing a lot more public hearings.
I got lots of emails from Karina.
Yep.
So, yeah. Okay. So I think this one planning issue is, I think that should become a planning issue, what you just spoke about. So at some point, it should be noted that there's something there that really has to be taken care of.
Yeah, we're going to be doing similar to the spring LDRs, some fall LDRs with numerous changes. And so that's added to the list. It's
Okay.
been added to the list.
Thank you. Do you have any public comments? Any comments, miss? Oh, thank you very much. All right. The reports. You guys always have reports. That's what you do best. You do reports. No reports? Oh, boy. Board member comments.
I have one.
Mhm.
So I'm also on the board of the Bryant Park Neighborhood Association. And we've been coordinating this fundraiser. It's the 22nd annual Derby Day fundraiser. And it's on Saturday, May 4th, starting at 4 p.m. We've partnered with Lilo's and the NAPC. So they're actually going to close down that portion of South K Street. There's going to be a stage, a live band, and I've collected a lot of amazing raffle prizes and silent auction prizes from all our local sponsors. I'm still talking to other businesses, trying to get more sponsorships. So if you'd like to contribute, please reach out. And yeah, I hope to see everyone there.
Not organizing anything? All right. Okay, guys. We're adjourned.
3 minutes. 15, 19, 39.
You remember it? Oh,
My- I had a cousin there.
Yeah.